Emma Givek Sharia, South Africa's first and only fully Sharia-compliant family medical takaful and wellness product, wishes all listeners Ramadan Kareem. Download the Emma Givek app and get free immediate access to Emma Givek Sharia collection of du'as, hadith, Quran, and much more. Emma Givek Sharia. The time is just gone, 4:35. We continue with the broadcast this afternoon. It is Iftar Drive. It is the first day of Ramadan, and we trust and hope that the day has gone well with all of us. And let us remember the time of sunset in Johannesburg is at around 8:32, which will signal the end of the first fast of this month of Ramadan. But nevertheless, we continue on Iftar Drive, and this afternoon, Wits Political Studies, Professor Daryl Glaser. We're talking about the DA seeking support from the US and the UK to enhance domestic election observation. Prof. Daryl Glaser, good afternoon to you, sir, and welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be with you here. Yes.
Yes. Prof, let's talk about, obviously election season in South Africa, not very much to go. In fact, 29th of May. So basically, it's just under 3 months away. And we've seen political parties, manifestos. We've seen launches. Last week, we saw the IEC registrations being finalized as well. So it is election fever, and we're going to hear a lot from now till the elections till May the 29th. And we've seen the DA now, urging Western governments to be part and parcel of observing the elections.
Yeah. Look, I think as a general principle, and I think even the government accepts it as a general principle, the more observers, the better. I don't think any country is exempt from the possibility of things going wrong, and every country should be subject to scrutiny. I suppose the problem here is that the DA made an appeal to a specific group of powers, which on the one hand you could say, well, those are the established democratic states with experience in running elections. But on the other hand, it sort of plays to this narrative that the DA aligns itself with the West against the global South. So I think that's tactically a suspect, even if not otherwise. And I think the other problem is that it's not clear on what basis the DA is operating. It's operating in making this appeal. It seems to be operating on a speculative basis. It's basically saying that because the ANC is liable to fall below 50% of the vote, it's likely to cling to power, which is not an unreasonable speculation, but it is nevertheless a speculative, and it does have the potential consequence of undermining confidence in the way South Africa runs its elections when there's no actual evidence that the IEC or our other institutions are handling elections badly. It's the one thing, although we don't manage elections perfectly by any means, it's the one of the things, let me say, that we've managed to do fairly competently. So I would say that, before making a specific appeal like this, one would need to clarify the grounds of it, and speculative grounds are not sufficient. So I think it's problematic. On the other hand, I think the government is also going to now overreact. Is already overreacting to the DA move. I mean, it could have chosen to adopt a fairly relaxed approach, but the government wants to, I suppose, burnish its own anti-imperialist, pro-global South credentials, and it sees this as a good kind of card to play against the DA. And it could have potentially, if the government takes that line of thinking too far and starts implicitly accusing domestic actors of engaging in acts of treason, then that becomes democratically problematic in its own way. So I would like to see, on the one hand, the DA provide a better explanation for why it's made this appeal. On the other hand, I'd like to see the government toning down its reaction and not overreacting in potentially dangerous ways.
Yes, Prof. In fact, many are saying that this could be the most crucial election to date since our democracy, and for the reasons that you mentioned. And I don't think it's speculative, but I think even opinion polls have actually shown that the government and the ANC will go below 50% this time around. And this is the reason why it is so crucial. And we will find that political parties will try and capitalize on these polls and will try and do whatever they can that suits them best, basically what will work in their favor as well. Now, like you mentioned, in the absence of an explanation by the DA, it's all purely speculative at this point in time. So it's very, very difficult. But again, because this election is absolutely important, it could be one of the most crucial that this country ever would have held.
Yeah, look, South African democracy is facing arguably its big test because in purely procedural terms, South Africa's run a good democracy since 1994. We've had free and fair elections. The parties that have won elections have assumed office. The parties that have lost elections have tended to concede power. And to that extent, we could say that procedurally we've had a good election show so far. But I mean, the qualification that one always had to enter until now was we don't know what will happen when the ANC is threatened with a loss of power at a national level. And, there's some evidence that the ANC, we know for a fact that the ANC sees itself not simply as an ordinary political party, but as a kind of a special party that has a particular historical mission as the liberation movement of South Africa. And it may not take readily to simply being consigned to being another party, coalition player or opposition party on a national scale, not to mention the huge patronage networks that function around political parties. So, if the ANC loses power, it'll be, on a cynical view, someone else's turn to eat, and the ANC and its clientele will go hungry. And so there's a lot at stake materially as well. So yes, South African democracy is about to be put to a major test. In fact, I think that the test of whether the parties that lose power are going to concede power is the really big test. I don't see any evidence that elections are likely to be rigged or anything like that. I mean, there is a danger of political violence before the election, but I think the biggest test is going to be post-election, whether the parties that win assume office and the parties that lose concede power. And if South Africa passes this test, it'll be a great tick in the box for South Africa's democratic credentials. But there's evidence that South African democracy is more fragile than it looks on the surface. We only have to think about the uprisings of 2021, for example, that arose out of Zuma's arrest for evidence of fragility.
Yes, and also, Prof, when one looks at the reaction from some of the other political parties, you mentioned treasonous. I see that came out of MK as well, Jacob Zuma's party. We've seen parties like Rise Mzansi expressing their concerns at the DA. And obviously with the ANC accusing the DA of putting South Africa's sovereignty on a silver platter. Now, the IEC, on the other hand, has said they welcome foreign observers to the elections. And here we've got the ANC making statements saying that this is outrageous and that South African political parties are appealing to foreign governments to interfere in our country's electoral process.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I think that everybody should, as it were, relax and take the view that the more foreign observers we have, the better. The SADC observers are going to be here, I believe, AU observers, UN observers. the governments of the world are allowed to have their diplomats or a certain quota of diplomats observing. So, I mean, that's what the South African government has said in its defense, that it's not afraid to have international observers. So if that's the case, then why not, some more on top of that? So, I mean, yes, there are questions about why the DA is doing this. It seems to be a bit of an overreaction on their part, but at the same time, yes, I worry about the government's overreaction in turn. Excuse the phone going in the background here.
It's fine, Prof. What I'll do is, Prof, let's just go for a quick break. We'll be back, and if you could just attend to that quickly.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Are you looking for a meaningful way to give to those in need? This Ramadan, donate your fidya or kafara to Penny Appeal South Africa and assist us in providing food packs and hot meals. Help us make a lasting impact. Visit www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573. Penny Appeal South Africa. Small change, big difference.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness. And every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and free zakat calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
Abu Huraira narrated that he heard the Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, say, "In black seed there is a healing for every disease except death." This Ramadan, experience the health benefits of this ancient blessed seed by using the Tib Black Seed range. Black seed assists the body to boost immunity, regulate blood sugar levels, reduce inflammation, and act as a potent antioxidant. Experience a holistic approach to health by introducing the Tib Black Seed range into your Ramadan routine. Available in capsules, pure cold-pressed oil, and a vapor rub. Trust Tib Health Sciences for quality black seed products. For more information, visit blackseed.co.za. Available at leading pharmacies.
This Ramadan, join hands with Muslim hands to make a meaningful difference in the lives of millions worldwide. Your zakah and sadaqah can be the lifeline for those in need. Together we can nourish the hungry in South Africa and across the globe, offer clean water to impoverished communities, empower women with sustainable livelihoods, and bring relief to families grappling with the aftermath of natural disasters and conflict. Be their beacon of hope today. Connect with us at muslimhands.org.za or dial 021 633 6413 to extend your support.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic, Sharia, and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
You are listening to Salam Media live from our headquarters in South Africa. This is Salam Media, keeping you company this Ramadan.
Well, we continue with the broadcast this afternoon right here on Salam Media, which is the first of Ramadan. And we continue with Professor Daryl Glaser. We're unpacking the call by the Democratic Alliance to the United States and the UK as part of the observation. Now, one of the controversial issues is this call was made to an executive. And I think this is where this has become quite problematic. And we're seeing the type of reaction from some of the parties. Prof, just before the break, we were talking about the DA, the response from the ANC, handing South Africa's sovereignty on a silver platter.
Yeah, look, I think one has to understand the sensitivities of South Africans and Black South Africans in particular, that, a great deal of, if you like, liberation is about not simply achieving formal political independence, or even economic, or even only economic independence plus political independence. It's also about a kind of a cultural and psychological liberation, and part of what that involves, we know from Du Bois and Fanon onwards, it's about escaping the Western gaze. It's about escaping a situation where the West becomes the ultimate yardstick for what's right and wrong. A lot of people take understandable offense, given the history of colonialism, at the idea that the West should be the ultimate arbiter. So I think those are some of the sensitivities involved, but I think it's also those are legitimate sensitivities, but then it's also possible to kind of exploit those sensitivities to potentially engage in problematic political interventions, like labeling opponents as treasonous and raising the stakes in a dangerous way in the election by implying that what's at stake is South African sovereignty. I don't really think South African sovereignty is at particularly great risk. Our sovereignty is at greater risk from our economic difficulties ultimately than it is from having foreign election observers. So I don't think our sovereignty is immediately at risk. And of course, there are some other contextual factors that are relevant here. There's South Africa's intervention on behalf of the Palestinians and the Gazans at the International Court of Justice. Now, there's the suspicion that, or at least the government claims to be worried that the West is going to try and subvert South Africa because it took the case to the ICJ. I think sometimes South Africa overstates its own importance in world affairs, but I mean, in this case, I suppose we have become rather important. Having said that, I think the United States, for example, plays a kind of subtle game with South Africa. I don't think it's particularly keen to declare South Africa to be part of the axis of evil, or to consign it to the ranks of North Korea or Iran. That's what Israel says, that we're Hamas's lawyers, but I don't think the Americans are going to take that line. I would be surprised if there was any a serious attempt by America, which has got so many challenges and problems on its hands already, let's remember. I'd be surprised if they devoted many resources to trying to affect regime change in South Africa. But it helps South Africa. It helps the ANC's case to present itself as the defender of South African sovereignty against Western interests. Another interesting part of the context is this, the perception on the part of the ANC. I was just reading about it today, in fact, that the DA is trying to sort of push for succession in the Western Cape, that it's trying to establish almost a kind of either a white or an ethnic or racial minority enclave in the Western Cape, with view to escaping black majority rule. Now, that seems to me to be a huge overreading again of this Western Cape Powers Bill that's in the Western Cape Assembly. But again, it fits a particular narrative, and so the ANC will exploit it. And I think all of this provides the context in which this particular set of contentions are taking place.
Yes, Prof, I think while all of this is playing out, and I think for me, we're talking about observers on election day. But what is more important and what's more critical is the build-up to the elections. And I think you alluded to that to an extent as well. Certain hotspots, election violence, all of that. And I know KwaZulu-Natal at this point in time could be very, very volatile. We've got the MK, we've got the Zuma factor.
Correct.
We've got all these things playing out. We've got the Free State, we've got Ace Magashule. All these things in the build-up to the elections, I think would be of greater concern than what would actually happen on election day and who the observers are.
No, I think that's correct. I mean, as I said, to me, the biggest test is what happens after the election. But you're absolutely right that the build-up to the election has some volatile elements in it. And we know from experience that factional competition broadly within the Congress camp can actually be more explosive than competition between political parties. And one way of thinking about the MK-ANC fight is that it's a sort of a playing out in the form of formally different political parties, are playing out of long-standing factional differences. And they mobilize, MK is mobilizing regional loyalties and ethnic loyalties as well, even if not explicitly. And we've seen the enormous mobilizational potential for that kind of regional and frankly ethnically influenced unrest in KZN. We've seen it. We saw it in the July 21 riots, and we've seen it going all the way back to the ANC and Carter fights of the late 80s and early 90s. So yes, there's a huge potential for volatility, and more generally, the last good number of years have seen local political killing at the municipal level, whistleblowers, competitors for local resources. Most of this goes on, out of the immediate gaze of the national media, involving characters who very often, are not nationally known. So it doesn't get as much attention as it perhaps should. But I think it illustrates the volatility of the situation and the potential for violence. So yes, there are going to be quite a number of tests, both before and after the election. And I would certainly say that both of the pre-election test and the post-election test are bigger than the test constituted by the running of the election itself. I think you're absolutely right about that.
Well, Prof, let's see what develops, and I'm sure we will be touching base from time to time as well in the build-up to the elections. But for now, we thank you. We do appreciate you taking time out, as always, with us right here on Salam Media.
Great to be with you.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye. Professor Daryl Glaser with us this afternoon right here on Salam Media, and just to look at some of the reaction that has come through as a result of this discussion we are having. We've seen that the IEC also saying that the DA is misguided on how observation of election processes work. So this has become a big issue. It's become a major talking issue, but is it as big as it is actually made out to be, considering that there are realities on the ground? And as we have been talking with Professor Daryl Glaser about in the build-up to the elections, after the elections, is it just all about election day? The fact that the DA went, what does this mean? That they've written to the U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, directly asking for independent domestic observers to the upcoming polls, and saying that, we know this has been criticized as well. And at the end of the day, we've had so many elections. This is what Dr. Naledi Pandor said. We've had so many elections until now, and all of them have been free and fair. So is it just about that day, the day of the elections, or is there a lot more that we will be witnessing in the build-up to the elections? We are heading very closely to 5 p.m. and we still have got a fair amount to talk about this afternoon right here on Salam Media. We've got, we will be talking with Miriam Nkwanda. She's going to be joining us as well about the mid-morning show and the competition that will be held during this mid-morning show. So we'll get all of that as well. And also at the same time, we will be linking up with Osama Nazal, a Palestinian journalist, and a tragic toll, 408 seekers losing their lives in just 2 weeks in the build-up to the Ramadan. Now, these are 8 seekers, people that really sought help. This is tragic. And what sort of Ramadan are the people of Gaza having? So we will be unpacking all of that afterwards. But right now, we're going to go for a break. We're going to take the Asr Azan. We're going to go away for Asr Salah. And we come back. We will then be joined by Osama Nazal.